once you become an elite thinker or an elite problem solver, or you develop an elite mind to learn and to become curious, you carry that on to everything that you do. And all my pursuits are to turn me into a more capable human so I can just crush. Wow, guys, we just did the 5-second countdown here with Danny Lehr. Sometimes I give introductions, sometimes, but you know what? Today, he's on the book tour. He wrote the book. He's doing the typical salesman type of thing, but he hasn't lived the typical life. So I don't want to go step by step here and take the podcast 1 through 9 and spend a few minutes in every category, but you have great perspective, man. You've lived this full life. You're a family man. You've run gyms. You started out as a PE teacher. You had enough of life. You're in Alaska wondering what you're doing with your life. You've Olympic level weightlifted. You've started gyms. And now he writes a book. And when he writes a book, he's such a promoter. I was just saying it. He sends a watch. And what I just got done talking to him about, like, next time you send a watch, it better be a Rolex. So, but it looks good. And so I like that you sent the book in advance, and it's called Win Your Next Hour. This is going to lead into a big conversation, but it's on Amazon. There's the Audible on there. So you've checked a lot of the boxes. He's sitting here visiting us at 40 years old today. What I'm wondering is, as we get into the book and talk about all the things that Danny Lehr's learned and what he could teach us, I wonder what the next 40 years is going to look like. What do you think, Danny?
Oh, that's a good question. Right now my kids are still at a great age, right? They're 8 and 12. And so that clock is ticking on, when they want to spend time with me. I know I'm brushing up on a decade where they're going to want to not spend as much time with me before they come full circle. So I'm trying to enjoy time with the family, time with the kids. But at the same time, pursuing the things that get me excited, if you've ever find yourself doing something and you just really don't want to, that's okay. You should probably do it anyway. But that shouldn't become your everyday, right? And so right now I'm just having a good time pursuing the things that get me excited.
How does that connect with having to do the hard things? Like, you just invoked a little bit, you should probably do it anyway. How do we know? Like, if you reflect back on your life and all the hard, like, how do we know if we should keep going and press through the hard things or take a deviation and hit that reset button? Have you figured that out in your head?
Well, to be clear, I actually had the epiphany earlier today that I'm not very good at letting go of the rope. I think I maybe hang on too long or am hesitant to move on because I've had so many experiences where, things are hard and you just a little bit longer, and then, the clouds part and the sun comes out and things are better. I think that when it's time, I think when it's time. I think that if you're doing something and you don't want to do it because it's hard or it's uncomfortable, you should probably just do it. But if you're doing something and you realize that no part of me is enjoying this, and in the foreseeable future, this is not going to get better, and that type of thing, well, then I think that it's time. Here's an example. So I was competing in weightlifting as an adult and everything, and then I stopped for a while. Well, I turned 35, and weightlifting is pretty hard on your body, and so actually masters, right, like the old man category, start at 35 years old. And someone said, hey, World Championships, World Cup, Masters World Cup is in San Diego. You live in California, like, you should maybe do that meet. And I hadn't competed in 4 years or so. I was like, oh man, I don't know. I think that I'm kind of done. And when I was competing open, I always never thought I want to do, masters weightlifting or anything like that. And plus, like, California geography, like, San Diego's in the same state, but it's like a 10-hour drive. It's not like it's right around the corner. He said, yeah, but, a lot of time, like last year it was in Germany, and it's definitely closer than that. I said, okay, sure. You know what? I'll do it, right? Like, let's see. I really, I enjoyed competing. I liked winning. And so let me just kind of see. I'll do this one meet, and if I really enjoy it, maybe I'll keep doing it. And if I don't enjoy it, then I won't. And so I dedicated basically 20 weeks to this thing. I did 8-week training cycle, did a local meet to qualified, 12 more weeks, and then went down to San Diego for the Masters World Cup. And I had a blast in the competition. I busted my ass during training. I kind of knew the competition. I knew that to really push myself to train the way I needed to, I had to kind of set some goals and do some things. And I did all of that. And I went down there and I won. And I had a great time, right? Won the Masters World Cup, all that. Well, then immediately afterwards, though, I changed in the bathroom, went straight to the airport to fly home because my wife was working the next day and I need to get home so I could take the kids to school, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting in the airport at 9:00 at night, waiting for my delayed flight. And I was like, you know what? I don't want to do this again. Like I just knew the time during the meet, right? Like I really enjoyed the competition aspect of it. Felt like home. I've done 27 or whatever weightlifting meets. And so in the back room, the day before, weighing in, the morning of, getting loose, warming up, actually on the platform, on the podium, holding the American flag, all that stuff was an amazing experience. But I'm sitting there and I'm like, but okay, outside of those 3 hours, I didn't really enjoy this. The training, I didn't miss a training session because I knew I was training for this goal, and I didn't enjoy it. Out of those 20 weeks of training, I think I maybe enjoyed 3 of the training sessions total out of the entire thing. And so that was a clear indication to me, like, okay, well, I just need to not do this anymore. I like, there's aspects of it I enjoy, but by and large, the majority of the time that I dedicated to this thing wasn't worth it. Right. And I've had the opposite be true, right? Whether it's, training for some sort of athletic endeavor, whether it's, up in Alaska, hiking, bushwhacking up to the top of this mountain, different things where it's hard and it's miserable, but then you get to the payoff and you're like, oh shit. Yeah. Everything. What's the language on this podcast?
Listen, you've opened it up now. Once you unleash one word, we're going all the way. Oh, I get more people trying to counsel me off of my 4-letter words. I'm like, good luck.
All right. Okay, cool. All right. So I can try. Anyway, we're like, okay, well, all that shit was worth it because this is fantastic. It's amazing. I would do it all over. At this point, I would do it all over again. You know what I mean? And anyway, I didn't feel that way. You fast forward 2 hours. I'm like, I wasn't worth. At this point in my life, I don't want to be doing front squats in my garage at 5 a.m. or at 9:30 p.m. because that's the only time of the day I had to do them, right? And I don't want to take this venture on and not do the things that I need to do to be successful. And so that's what it really came down to is I think sometimes you just got to, so to answer your question is I think when it's hard and in the moment you don't want to do it, you need to do it anyway. You're right. Don't be soft. But do the hard thing.
We're committing to? Do you think we need to take more serious the thing that we sign up for then? Because your point is you need to see it through.
You see it through. You do the thing that you said you're going to do, right? Because what you don't want to do is start backing out on your obligations or on the things you said you're going to do. Because then what's not only the external things, but what's that message telling yourself?
Yeah, right? You're going to develop very bad habits. You're going to end up quitting on a lot of things. Yeah.
But it's just this once. Just this once, Mark. I'm not going to well, yes, you're right. It is this once until it's the next time. And every time you do it, it's easy. It's just like
going to the gym, right? I mean, you're a fitness guy. It's just like going to the gym.
Yep. It was just like cheating on your diet. It's like, is that one bite of Snickers bar going to derail your diet? It's like, hell no. Right. But you think it's just going to be that one bite is going to lead to the next time. Now you take a bite every single day. That's going to push you back a little bit. Right. Mm-hmm. And so it's the same idea. So I think you get in the habit of quitting when things are hard, then you're a quitter. That's, because your habits determine who you are. Right. And so that's really what it comes down to. And I think of too, when I was writing Win Your Next Hour, I spoke to James Clear, right, the author of Atomic Habits. Yep. We had a great conversation, a couple hours long. And one of the things that he said that came up, he said, it's people always think like, oh yeah, well I can do this. Maybe you can, but it's not what you look like on your best days. It's what you can stick to on your worst days.
What makes us stick to that? Not to interrupt it, but what makes us stick to that? Because isn't this the eternal thing that we're looking for? Like in personal development and in habits and setting goals and achieving them and pushing through the hard. I mean, we say this now hundreds and thousands of ways, all the biggest names of all the gurus. So,
well, Actually, so the truth is that it is hard, right? Like that's, I think a lot of people, oh, well, what's the trick? Well, there's not really a trick, but there is something though, is there is a system, and you're leading right into it. I don't know if you did it on purpose or not, but with Win Your Next Hour, I mean, that's really what happened is I discovered from spending a bunch of time around ultra high achievers. And when I say that, I'm talking about, I've got a couple friends that are Olympians, and not just acquaintances. I mean, like good friends of mine, like when I'm in town, I sleep on their couch, get up in the morning, play with their kids, stuff like that. And in fact, one of them was a gold medalist, 2012 Olympic gold medalist in weightlifting. Him and his coach, I spent 2 weeks together. Like we stayed in a house together for 2 weeks one summer. And the things you learn from Olympic gold medalists, from a guy who started business from scratch and sold it for $1.6 billion, right? You start talking to people that have done these incredible things, and you realize they all kind of think the same way. They all kind of say the same stuff. They all kind of they have these habits they put in. And so what I did is based on the things I learned from them and my own experiences, I came up with a system that helps you to kind of get unstuck and also get over yourself, right? And stick to the hard things and the things that make a big difference. And so it's just and it's super simple acronym. It's WIN, right? W stands for words, the I stands for invest, and N stands for note your progress. And so through those three steps, it really puts a system in place that anyone can follow it makes a difference. So sometimes you might be at the edge where, is it worth it? Or I could just quit. Well, if you put these simple things in place, then it kind of gives you the juice to get over the hump. And we can break down those different things, in time. We don't have to roll through them all right now. But I mean, just with the W, for example, stands for words. And so you just have to do your words, use your words, and tell people what you're up to. And there's a lot of reasons why. It's, so one is actually a good friend of mine, Wes Kids. He's a 2-time Olympian in weightlifting. And then I think he's won Pan Am Games or Pan Am Championships, the combination of those two things 5 or 6 times, right? So we're talking international medalist. And I was thinking about, telling people when you're signing up to do something or you do something hard, right? Sometimes it's hard to tell people because you think, oh, they're going to think that I'm full of it, or they're not going to believe me, or, whatever. And so I was like, well, you know what? I'm worried about that with the small stuff. Imagine telling people that your goal is to win an Olympic medal. Like, I'm gonna go to the Olympics, even if they know you've been doing the sport. Yeah, I'm gonna go. They may not even know how hard it is, but you know how hard it is to actually like qualify for the Olympics, let alone win a medal, right? You got to have some real balls to tell people that that's what you're doing. So I actually just called Wes, and I'm like, hey man, think about like using your words and telling people what you're up to. Do you remember the first time you told someone your goal was to go to the Olympics or to win a medal? Like, you must have been terrified, right? And how'd that go? Or like, were you scared? And he was like, hell yeah, I was scared. He said, but then I realized pretty soon that if I can't even bring myself to say it out loud, how do I really believe it? And I thought, oh shit, that's a solid. I hadn't even thought of it from that angle, right? And he said it wasn't actually the first Olympics. The first time was when he thought he was going to break the American record in the snatch. And so that was his goal in training. He was training to break the American record. And he was like, he was struggling. He couldn't even like tell people. He felt like he couldn't even say it out loud, because who's going to believe him? Oh yeah, Wes, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm going to go break this American record. And so he started off by telling his mom, who gave him some support, and then his high school football coach, and then some friends. And no one was laughing at him. No one told him it was impossible. Instead, what happened is he got this like uprising of support, and he found it really bolstered his self-belief. He found
so
that
can I interrupt this real quick? Then we can pick back up on the story. What I want to say is that what's the infrastructure that you hope people have when the people around them that they share it with don't give them those positive reinforcements? Because what I see in life, that actually happens. We could go off, the average of 5 people you spend time around. We could go deep into that. However, while you're transitioning through different levels of success in life, for the most part, what I've found out, you're not around those type of people in the middle of it.
Well, so here's what I'll say to that is, who are the best people to tell? Is people that are also pursuing a similar goal, right? And so if you tell your buddy, maybe he's your good time buddy, you're over there Friday nights, putting down a 30-pack of beer or whatever. And by the way, like may not help you towards your goals. Maybe it does, what your goal is. I don't know. But the point is, you tell someone, and if they think like, oh, no, you shouldn't do that. Well, then what that really tells you, that person's not going to support you in the things you're doing. Then you need to start telling other people. You need to look at who you're spending your time with, who you're hanging out with, who you're talking to.
Also, that's a
whole
nother journey, isn't it?
That's a whole nother journey. If here's another trick, not even in the win formula, but if you're going to, whatever goal you're pursuing, you just got to find other people who are either currently pursuing that goal or have done it before, and you spend time around them, And so a little aside story is right now I'm training because I'm going to ride my bike around Lake Tahoe, which is 73 miles, right? And so I'm not a cyclist. I mean, I guess I kind of am now, but like up until 10 weeks ago, like longest I've ridden my bike was like on Boy Scouts. I think we went on like a 10-mile bike ride somewhere. You know what I mean? Like that's it. Like it wasn't anything big. And but it's a fundraiser for the Leukemia Lymphoma Society. And so it's this great event. And so I said, okay, I want to do this Tahoe bike ride, raise some money for the Leukemia Society. And so I went to sign up for it. And there's some local teams that you can join that'll help you out. Well, there's one right by here. It's actually the biggest team out of the entire ride. And they're 30 minutes from my house. And so I sign up, I select that team to be a part of. And then they say, okay, hey, we're doing these group rides. You don't have to go. It's optional. I was like, well, of course I'm going to go. And so every Saturday available that I can make it out there, I go out there and I go on these long group training rides with a group of people. Because now, and then I get an email from them once or twice a week. Now I've made friends. I got connections. I got 4 or 5 people who have been competing or participating in cycling for decades. This guy Julio has been doing it for 30 years. The head coach of the team is 77 years old, and he's doing the ride around. He's done this thing a dozen times. He started the group because his wife had leukemia and this whole thing, right?
You know what just went through my head? I'm interrupting again here, but this is important.
Yeah.
Everyone's always looking for the easier way. And I have this snap response to everybody like, no, you got to do the hard, and the only way is through. But I just thought, you're actually doing it the easier way, because all those people that have done it before you, they can give you the direct advice on the little nuance of riding the bike and doing right. So I'm like, man, that's actually the easier way.
Is my seat half an inch too high, too low? They tell I'm riding. And so it's a big team. So they actually split us up into 6 groups, and I ride in group, by speed, how fast I like to go. So I'm like in group 3. And, first day we're out there riding, and each group has their own little coach. And so he just kind of goes along, hey, early in the ride, checks in with everyone. Hey, how you doing, Dan? It's, oh, pretty good. So, yeah, so an experience. I said, nah, man, like, I bought this bike on Facebook Marketplace. I've been fixing it up myself. Like, I'm just getting started. So I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So, like, if you see something I'm doing, let me know. And he's like, oh, definitely. I was actually going to let you know. I'm kind of looking. I think your seat could actually be just a little bit higher. I said, oh, sounds good. Well, the next time we stopped, he came over with a little Allen wrench. I didn't have, like, a multi-tool kit. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So he comes over, the little Allen wrench, like, hey, here you go. And all right, cool. So right there on the spot, I move my seat up a little bit, crank it back down. How's that look? Oh, looks good. Start riding. How's it feel? Feels good. And I would have maybe figured that out myself, or something would have come up along the way. But I already looked all that up. I looked up like how high I made the adjustments myself based on what I could find between Google and ChatGPT, but there's something about the experienced eye in someone who's done this so many times. And so I just basically immersed myself in this community of people who want to help. And that's what I found. To come back to your, what about people who don't? I actually haven't had that experience very much. I've found, and people I've talked to as well, you'd be amazed how many people want to support you, or tell you can do it. I haven't had a bunch of experience with people telling me I can't. I've had a few, right? But it's been the exception, not the rule. The vast majority of people, if they're your friend, whatever, they want to see you succeed. They might be like, oh, damn, that sounds hard. And you're like, yeah, it's going to be. I'm like, all right, okay, yeah. Like, that's it. But I haven't had a lot of people telling me I can't, right? But like you said, the easy way is find a coach.
Yep.
And there's actually a whole chapter on this stuff, people. It's like find a coach, a community, right, who's done it before or is in the process of doing it now. And in weightlifting, I know I'm kind of jumping around different stories here, but when I was competing in weightlifting, I drove an hour away to compete on this team, California Strength, because they're the best team in the nation, and they had one of those decorated coaches in the nation, if not the world. Glenn Penley was the coach. I mean, there's Penley barbells, right? Like, this guy and I went out there just for a clinic, just to learn about weightlifting. And then there's on this team, they got 2 current national champions. The coach has coached over 100 national champions, right? There's guys going off competing at Pan Am Games, World Championships. And then they're sitting there and they're like, oh, you got some potential. You should come out here and train with us. So I hired one of them to do personal training with me once a week. I would drive an hour. I had weights in my garage, right? So, and I had kids and I had a real job. I was teaching at the time, right? And so during the week, and I had a gym. I got my own gym. So during the week, I would train at my gym or in my garage. And then on the weekends, I'd drive an hour, get coached, for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and drive back home, right? And that was what I did. And then over time, as I got better, then they're like, hey, you should actually just come train with the team. You don't need this one-on-one anymore. Just come train with the team. So Friday nights, Max Out Fridays, Friday night, I'd go out there, I'd lift with the team. And then they actually put these audacious goals in front of me. They told me things are possible I didn't think were possible. They said, okay, like my goal is like, yeah, maybe one day I'm just gonna do some weightlifting meets. It'll be fun. And they're like, oh no, you're gonna qualify for this American Open. It's like a mid-level national meet, and go lift, have fun. And then you're gonna go to nationals the next 3 months later and lift and have fun. And then we're gonna go back and start medaling. They laid out this plan in 18 months. I'm supposed to be medaling at national championships. That's like unheard of time. But these guys, they're all doing it. And you're sitting there training next to a guy that's a national champ. And he's telling you could do it. Right. And so and you know what? I qualified for American Open. I went to nationals. I never medaled. I got 5th at one, 7th at another. Not too bad. So that was one thing about that Massive World Cup. I feel like I got the monkey off my back, right? Went and medaled at a bigger meet. But the point is, I brushed right up against it. I was getting 5th place in national meets in less than 2 years because I was training on a team with these guys that have been there, done that under a coach who's seen it 100 times. And so then they believed in you. They know you can. So it's about immersing yourself in that community or finding a coach. And, there's not someone even an hour away. Like there's online communities. You can find people online that are doing the same thing, pursuing the same thing, who want to help you out. Like whatever it is, you're buying a trailer, you want to make a mobile coffee shop. You go on, I bet you can find a Facebook group of people who have mobile coffee shops. Boom, go join that group, start asking questions. You'd be amazed at how helpful people want to be.
Have you been a guy that saw a system and would go all in, or in the beginning where you just like all those young teenagers and young adult where you didn't want to listen to anybody? Because you seem like a system guy. You had formal education, you became a PE teacher and stuff. What I'm saying, that's a really good attribute than if you combine this grittiness of wanting to be an entrepreneur. But have you always been a system guy? Because there's a lot of people who don't want to let go of the ego to listen to the people that have come before them.
I'll tell you this, is I like to win, right? And I'm pretty good about it now as far as like if I don't, but I feel like I did everything I could to prepare and the cards don't fall my way, I can deal with that. I don't like it, but I'm okay with it. Now, if I don't win and I can look back and say, oh yeah, that day where I was tired, I didn't feel like it, so I didn't do my morning training session because I didn't feel like it. Oh, and there's that other day where, I had early morning training the next day and I stayed up late or whatever. Actually, I've always kind of done that, to be honest, gotten away with that. But like, you see what I'm saying? The whole thing, if I can point back to all these things that at the time I didn't do because I didn't feel like it. Right now, training for the cycling, 3 days a week, I get up, I'm not exaggerating, I get up, go to the bathroom, put on my little padded bike shorts and go sit on the bike that's hooked up to a trainer in the garage and do a 45-minute ride. First thing, 5 a.m. There's not been a single day where I've woken up and been like, fuck yeah, I want to go out in the garage and jack my heart rate up right now before a cup of coffee or anything. Like, sounds terrible every time. Once I'm 15 minutes into it, I'm fine. I feel good. Heart rate's up, everything's going fine. But I've never regretted doing it. And here's the thing. When I go to Tahoe, if something happens, shit hits the fan, whatever, and I end up not finishing it for whatever reason, I'll be okay because I know that I did the preparation, I put in the time, I did all this stuff, whatever, I'll just do it again next year, Yeah. However, if I was skipping these sessions and I go and something goes wrong, I bonk or don't finish or whatever's going on, and I know, I was like, oh yeah, those days where I didn't do it because I didn't feel like it or I quit early because it was hard. Well, then you got to live with that. Fuck that. That sounds terrible, And so I don't know that it's so much that I'm a systems guy, is that I just have this, I don't even know if fear of losing is the right way to put it, but a fear of not putting in what it takes to win. And I think that's something that got instilled in me a few different ways. as a kid, my dad took us on backpacking trips and I was really young. I was like 6 years old and we are going breaking off 30 miles of the John Muir Trail. And I thought he just like really liked spending time with us. And I realized it's probably because that's the only way my mom would let him go. He took me and my brother.
Come on, kids, let's go.
Yeah.
So what's up with winning? So we talk about, because I don't want to miss too much on the book. There's so much goodness here. What you talk about winning hours, not worrying about winning the day.
Yeah.
How does that translate into a lot of the things you have to accomplish now? Because you're multifaceted. I mean, you're a husband, you're a dad, you're running a gym, you're training for a bike ride in Tahoe, you're writing books. There's a bunch of commitments here. So you could very easily get caught up on a lot of stuff going on this day. Maybe it feels like I didn't win it. What did I accomplish? What's this idea about winning the hour?
Yeah, I mean, it's winning the hour. That's just a chunk of time. The truth is, a lot of times it's broken up into different intervals, right? Sometimes it's I'm going to win this next minute. Sometimes specifically during training, during working out. I mean, the gym this morning, it was mostly running. And we were on like a 1 mile, rest a few minutes, 1,200 meters, rest a few minutes, 800, so on, right? And I mean, I'm running that mile, dude. I wanted to slow down. I was like, this is hard. But then I'm like, nah, just finish it. Just finish this. We get a break after this, and you talk yourself into putting out for this certain period of time. And an hour is just like a very tangible thing, right? And a lot of times you can do it by the hour. But still this thing where, when you take care of we're talking about mindfulness and presence and focusing on what you're doing now, And so you can set yourself up to win the day. In fact, I do it. I do this thing called Power List, right? And every day I do 5 tasks and I only write 5. Now I might have some things at the bottom that I put, if I have time, like some things to get to. But at the end of the day, I write a W on the top of the page if I got all 5 tasks done. I write an L if I didn't get all 5 tasks done. And the goal is to go 100 and 0. I'm going to get all 100 days, all 5 tasks every single day. And the reason that works, back to your question, is because you're chunking it into these hour tasks or into these different things. If otherwise, what happens, how many times you get to the end of the day and you're like, oh man, there's this thing I wanted to get done, but I didn't get to it because there's other things, right? And so winning the next hour is about prioritizing, right? And a lot of times prioritizing what is your most important task, right? Or what are your most important 3 tasks? And then you got to take them one at a time. And so it's about, one, when you're in it, whatever that is you're in, and you don't really want to do it anymore or it's hard, just do it, man. Just finish it, and a lot of times you find you end up doing more. So a lot of times, I didn't write a book. Then I would fail for sure. And I said, hey, I'm going to write 800 words a day, right? Because I met with my publisher once a week. I met with the editor, and they kind of expect me to have 2,500 words a week done. Okay, great. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I wrote 800 words a day, right? That puts you at 2,400. You're pretty much right there. And then I met with the editor on Thursday, and then Friday through whatever. Then I had a few days to either take time off or go and do some revisions and stuff like that. But it's about chunking things down into manageable steps that you can accomplish and focusing on those. And some days you're going, from the writing example, and I was feeling good or in a flow, and I break off 1,200 words one day, right? Or sometimes it'll be like a project, and I'll be like, start this project. That's what it says. Well, that's great, because you know what? I could go to start this project. I could outline it and be done. Maybe I only spend 10 minutes on it. But most likely what happens is you start to outline it, you get that outline done. You're like, oh man, this is great. I feel good about this. Well, let's look at what's this first thing. And you start then working on that step 1. And a lot of times starting something turns into getting pretty far down the tracks, or maybe even finishing it, right? But it's really about that win your next hour, is because a lot of things we have to do or want to do in life that are worth anything are big and take time. And if you look at the end goal and that's what you're focusing on, you never start, because it's such a big task. It's so far away. It's overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And so by sitting here going, hey, I don't have to worry about that. I just have to worry about this next hour. If I can win this next hour, right, then I'm on the way, on the progress. And it kind of comes back to the idea. There's this book called The Gap and the Gain, right? The gap is how far you are between where you are now and where you want to be, right? And the gain is how far you've gone. If you're focusing on the gap the whole time, man, it just beats you down. It's disheartening. Now, if you look back at how far you've gone and that gain, well, that's encouraging, right? And so that's really about win your next hour. Let's just focus on these next couple steps ahead and then look at how far we've come. And don't worry about the big thing up in the future. That'll take care of itself if we take these steps.
This applies to almost everybody I have a chance to sit down and talk about. There's a retired Navy SEAL that was recently on, connected with all the guys at the elite level, and he talked about in the training how he would just look towards like, let me just get to the next hill. Let me get to the top of the next hill. And so maybe that's the unlock to doing these hard things, that they are so hard, that they're so challenging, that because it doesn't seem hard personally, if I'm reflecting here, just doing the same thing I've already learned to do well, that doesn't seem hard to me. It's way less hard. So it seems like when we're on this journey to accomplish bigger things, the next competitive thing, it's inevitably going to be hard. So what's the strategy we use, right? Maybe if you break it down in the hour, you break it down the next hill, around the next curve, let me just get to that, and you reset that all the time. That's the context of what we're talking about, I think.
I remember one of the first times doing it, lying to myself, is high school. Played soccer as a kid, and then in high school, I was like, I'll play soccer. Now I was a little chubby and not the best runner at that time. And anyway, I remember like going to conditioning, and you go from like playing like, rec league fun soccer to all of a sudden like, oh no, competitive, right? I mean, just we were running so much. And I remember just being like, this is terrible. I want to quit. Mm-hmm. And so I just told myself, I was like, just finish today. You can quit after today. We're not going to quit in the middle of practice. Just finish practice and you don't have to come back tomorrow. This is it. Fuck this. I'm done. I'm just going to finish this out, and then I'll have to come back tomorrow. It's all good. Mm-hmm. And then you finish the day, you get home, and guess what? Next day, there I am, like lacing on my cleats again, Mm-hmm. And it's that same idea of like, just finish the thing now. Just get to this next hill, right? Just finish this hour. Just this one more rep, right? Just this one more training session. Just this, and you just get through these one more at a time. Because here's the other thing. Here's the truth of it also, is you can only do one at a time anyway. Right? Like this whole like worrying about like, whatever, I got to do 30 of something. It's like, no, you don't, motherfucker. You got to do one. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't, what are you worrying about number 30 for? Like, you're not even there yet, dude. Like, let's worry about number 1, and then we can worry about number 2, and then we can worry about number 3, right? But thinking about something that's so far off, like, if you figure out a way to do more than one at a time, let me know, right? But I've never seen anyone that can do it anyway. Right?
That's the importance of building good teams with you. I was messaging with someone earlier, and I was really busy. We're in Eastern time zones, so we're a few hours apart here. And it was a really busy morning on me juggling things that I'm not usually directly involved in anymore. Yep. And it's what's so important about having a great team, because there can be stuff that you're responsible for, but if as a team you've come together and now you separate out all the parts of the thing you want to accomplish, you can get together at the end of the day and you'll all have accomplished way more than the energy maybe or the effort that you put in, and it feels just as rewarding. It's awesome.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, it is. So does this principle or this idea of tackling objectives now, does it seem simple? Because what you're doing, and correct me, you're reverse engineering the goal is what you're doing. Yeah. Right. So 2,400 words a week, 2,500 a week, you break it down to how many I need to do a day. And then if you're struggling, you can probably break it down and I'm going to do it for 4 hours. How many per hour? Isn't that how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? Isn't that as simple as all these things we're trying to do as humans?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that people like tangible, it's funny when you say that type of thing, right? It's like, oh, how do you elephant one bite at a time? People go, yeah, okay, like they get it. They understand what you're saying. But like, how does that apply to me? How does that apply to what I'm trying to do? Right. And I think that abstract sometimes gets lost on people. Right. And you do.
But why do you think it does? Example. Because I'm sitting here and talking what I believe.
Well, I'm special, Mark.
Well, right. Isn't that wild? Is that I think when we put people on pedestals, whoever they are, you probably put weightlifters there. We might put business people and read all the books.
Yep.
But you could break down how to go from where you're at to where that person is and what they've accomplished. For some reason, we think we're such a distance away from it's not that far.
Yeah. Well, another thing is too, once you do a few things, once you start accomplishing even little things, then again, that bolsters your self-belief. And you start thinking, well, I did this other hard thing. I can do this hard thing. And that's the thing. You look back, talking to talking to my buddy Noah Kagan, and so he has actually has a great book out, Million Dollar Weekend. Anyway, he's a fantastic entrepreneur. Everything same type deal, started from scratch. Now his company does 100 million a year type thing, right? Mm-hmm. And he was saying that a lot of people look at these things and say like, oh, like it's so hard. I don't, where do I get the confidence? You're so good at this. You can, you've done it before. And he's like, well, what's something else you're good at? Like you can actually draw confidence from other parts of your life. Like what's something else that you're not just like good at, like exceptional at? What's something you're very, very good at? The odds are you weren't always as good as you are now. At one point, you were probably dog shit at that thing, right? Like you were a beginner at that thing, and through time and effort and energy, now you're excellent at that thing. Yeah. Well, if you did it here, why can't you do it somewhere else? And so you can actually draw on your previous experiences, even if they're in a completely different realm. Maybe you're whatever, you play video games, right? Or something like that. It's like, well, probably the first time you played that game, you're probably awful, right? And then you enjoyed it, you played it a lot more, now you're good at it, whatever. Like, so you can apply that to anything in life, whatever you're trying to do. Like you've done it before. You've realized that putting in the time and putting in the reps and all that, you improve. And so why would this be different?
So what, so you co-founded a company, Caffeine Kilos. That came out of what I believe was a CrossFit event, right? Yeah. Is that correct? And then this thing rolled out, and it's a lifestyle brand and all that. In this fast pace of business now, how do you apply what we're talking about here about maybe riding a 70-mile bike ride or winning the competition over a 20-week? What do you do now if you're in the midst of the business and the other businesses that are competing in your same space are evolving so fast and growing? What do you do with the current business if you're not just starting from scratch?
Oh, man. Well, adapt, right? You always have to be, it's funny because it's this balance of what has worked before and doing it again, right? Repeating successes, but then also trying new things. And I think that's the main thing is you just can't be afraid to try things and do different stuff. And with the understanding that sometimes you're going to try shit and it doesn't work. That's just the way it is. But you can't get discouraged from trying new things just because sometimes they don't work, Yeah. And honestly, whatever, I don't even know what percentage of success you might have. You might get it right 3 out of 10 times. But that's the great thing about business is you get it right 3 out of 10 times. Probably 2 of those 3 things that were right are going to outweigh and overperform all 7 things that didn't go wrong tenfold.
Yeah, because that's all we're trying to get to. I think that's why the loss and the failure shouldn't hurt, because all we're trying to arrive at is just 1 or 2 things that really work, and you go all in with them.
That's it. And you do it until it doesn't work anymore, because it's not going to, because nothing works. Like you talk about, things adapt, things change. The whole, in 2020, everything kind of got flipped on its head in the way of things. If you're an in-person business, online business, one might thrive, one might be getting crushed, and all that. And then whatever. Oh, now you get stimulus money, right? So that changes the calculus on some things. And then it's a whole roller coaster up and down. It's always a challenge. Things are always changing. And so you just have to keep trying. It's funny. In the gym, just recently, we started beginning of this year, started doing something a little different. And like new people, we're doing like we used to a long time ago, because the gym started in 2008. So we've been in this 17 years now. We used to do group intros. So we have people that want to join, no problem. Hey, here you go. Come down this time. We do this like series of group classes to get them ready for our regular classes. And then at one point, 10 or 12 years ago, we stopped doing that because it wasn't working really anymore. And we started doing individuals. So if someone wants to join, they do one-on-ones to get into the group classes. And then we just realized that, and then all of a sudden, like, that kind of wasn't working anymore. We're like, well, shit, let's start doing groups again. So we went back to the group, and then like those have been crushing it, And so it's funny. It's not just like, oh, this thing didn't work anymore, so we moved on to this. Now that doesn't work. Like, what's the next thing? Sometimes it's like just looking back, right? Like, well, what did we do that we had success before? And then, okay, well, maybe it'll work again now, right? Like it used to work, and then it didn't for a while. Let's try it again. And you try it, and it's either going to work or it's not, right? That's one thing for certain. It's either going to work or it's not. And I think stressing out over whether or not it's going to work, just spinning your wheels, it's a bunch of energy you're spending for no reason. And I think that you just got to try things, and you can't be afraid that it may not work. What you should be afraid of is if it doesn't work and it's your fault because you didn't put enough effort into it. And that kind of comes back. That's what I mentioned earlier when we talked about like systems and things like that. I'm not afraid necessarily of things not working out. I'm afraid of things not working out and me looking back and realize I did a half-ass effort. And I think that's where people struggle too, is we're saying try things and don't be afraid of failure. But at the same time, these things you're trying, you need to go all in on.
Yeah, commit to do a great job.
Yeah, you pussyfoot around on something, it doesn't work out. Well, maybe it actually would have worked if you would have just put out.
Mm-hmm. Well, you definitely would have learned, or you would have learned more to inform your brain if you should continue going. And what's so great about throughout life, you being 40 and me being 46 at this moment, it'll be funny if I make it to like 66 and look back and listen to this 46-year-old guy in this conversation. But the incredible thing is looking back on all the failure, it's not painful anymore. Right? It was only painful then.
Right.
But the awesome thing is we don't get the context of this failure thing right. Even the gurus that speak to it. It's the person that I became because of the failure. So I can take that individual to the next thing. And you're just stacking failures and they compound, and then you become capable enough to win at the thing. That's all this is.
I mean, that's any skill you're learning. Pickleball's popular. You want to start playing pickleball? All right, go buy a paddle and then go be bad.
That's it.
And you're going to be bad at it. There's going to be these 83-year-old women who are waxing your ass out there every single time, right? But then you're going to, look, if I move, I see the angle the ball's going out. Oh, okay. Oh, if I hit it over there, she's not going to get to it in time, right? Oh, if I put it over there, and then she's going to slip in her stockings, and then I fucking get the point, right?
Yep. And somebody else making a good shot too, though. Like you can lose a point and realize, like, dang, I hadn't seen that before.
100%. That's what it's almost impossible to be good at something unless you're first willing to be bad at it. Like, that's it. Like, you just have to be willing to be bad at something, and until you learn and progress and get good.
I've never been a prodigy at anything.
No, I've started some things and been okay at them because of previous experiences.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. But like, as far as starting something and being good, it's
not a genius or a guru at it. I never have been.
No, nobody has, and that's a big misconception. Is that I hate this shit, man. Someone sees whatever, there's Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, whatever, and they're like, oh man, that guy just had God-given talent. It's like, you think that guy didn't work? Like Steph Curry, man. You talk to anyone who played with him or them, he is the hardest worker on the team. Also, he started shooting a basketball when he could hold one, right? His dad was an NBA. Like, he has dedicated his entire life to like getting good at this thing. And now, at whatever he is, 37 years old, you talk to like young players, they go and work out them, they can't keep up. Like, they're throwing up, tapping out halfway through his workouts, right? And it's like, oh, well, I thought he was a God-given talent. I thought he was natural at this, right?
This is the reason why you have to start now.
That's why you got to start now and be bad at it.
That's it.
Just go be bad at the thing,
and
then you'll get better over time. And in time, and here's the truth is, in pretty short order, you can get to 70, 80% proficiency in almost anything.
And that's going to be better than most people, because most people aren't willing to go that far.
2 years. You dedicate 2 years to almost anything, and you'll be 80% proficiency at it.
Yeah.
Now, that lasts to 80 to 100%. That's going to take you another 5 to 10 years.
But that's when some of that stuff comes in too, that everybody wants to focus on. Like, not everybody's going to fulfill but if you're better than 80% of the people, that's success. That's success. But there's that final 20%. There are some other things and other factors in there on who's going to be elite. But what I've shared with so many people.
Well, what do you want to give up for it?
Yeah, right. That's
the thing, right? Like, talk about that. Like, you're a father, you got other stuff going on. It's like, okay, is it worth the time, the opportunity cost, right, to pursue that final 20%? Or is getting to 80%, being better than 80% of the people at this thing, is that enough to get the job done, most of the time? Well, in most of your life pursuits, the answer is yes. Again, keep talking 80-20 principle. It's only going to be in the 20% of your life that you need to or want to go beyond that scale anyway. And then that's where you spend the time and the effort to get excellent at those few things. And then you just got to get a baseline, above average baseline, and everything else.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you like these types of conversations, be sure to follow The Necessary Entrepreneur on your favorite platform so you never miss out on future content. Did you think when you were becoming a PE teacher and all that education, all those hours you spent in those classrooms and writing the papers, did that Danny think that Danny would be here, would be doing these
Oh,
things?
I don't know. I'm not gonna say no though. My grandfather was an entrepreneur. In fact, my parents, my dad ran a business. Like I grew up, that's what my dad did for a job. Is his dad owned an air conditioning company and he worked at it. And then when my grandfather retired, he ran it, whatever. And so it was never this weird thing to me that you could work for yourself or have your own job, right? Um, with that said, like I did good in school, I got good grades, I went to college, did the thing, get a job. But I always knew I wanted to do something else. And I remember a few things like my grandfather, I was a kid, he'd be like, Saturday, he'd call me up, say, hey, like I need whatever. I've got this building, I'm putting a wall in the middle of it, getting some new tenants. I'm going to go hire a day laborer, or do you want to come with me? I was like 12 years old. Yeah, sure. And so I'd go like work with my grandfather. And then you tell me what he was doing. Oh, yeah, I had this one spot, but then the guy moved out. And so I know I'm going to put a wall here. It's breaking into 2 units, renting out to 2 people. Oh, that's interesting. Right. And so you just kind of see these things growing up. And so I always knew that I want to do something. Now, I had no idea what, to be clear. Like, I didn't know that I was going to, own a gym, or that I was going to have this, coffee and apparel lifestyle brand in the fitness industry. Yeah, I didn't know I was going to write a book, obviously. I didn't know. In fact, I think at one point I might have said there's zero chance I ever write a book. But yeah, so I didn't know it was going to be this. But I always thought there'd be something. I always knew I wanted to do something.
So how'd you end up here? If we can shrink that down, not to 2 hours, we've talked about a lot, but
Yeah.
then how does that person, because this is the biggest struggle for people in life too.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So it's so you don't necessarily know you're going to do that, become that, but so many people say they want something more, but they either don't believe, don't see the path, they're too risk averse. But so how did you end up here?
Opportunities and taking advantage. Everybody has opportunities, but people won't take advantage of them. Oh man, you're so lucky, Mark. No, you got the same opportunities I do in different ways, different places. Maybe you didn't put yourself in the right position. Maybe you were scared to have the conversation. Maybe when the opportunity came across, you thought you can't do it. Right. But I was teaching PE and started doing CrossFit. And I was like, oh, I wonder if there's any gyms around here. And I looked it up, and the closest one was like, next town over, 15 miles away. And I go, oh, I'll look it up. And the guy that owns it, is a PE teacher in town at a different high school. And so I just hit him up. I'm like, hey man, can I come work out? He's like, yeah, come work out. And so I go out there and we work out. And then he tells me, he's like, oh man. So I go like a week later, I go out there and work out with him again. And then he tells me, he said, hey, we just started. He was just working out in his garage, and his neighbor's like, hey, can I join you? And he's like, yeah, sure. Next thing you know, he's got like 8 people. He's got to buy equipment. They don't have enough space. Like, shit, I guess I should like start charging them and lease a building. And so he had a friend who's going to help him with it. Hey, this other guy, he was excited about it. He kind of put a little bit of money in, not a lot, a little bit, but he doesn't have time. He's not spending any time in the business because he doesn't have time to do it. He's, whatever. I really need someone. Like, I've been coaching every single class. I can't do this. Like, I got kids. Would you ever consider, or have you ever thought about like doing that? You want to maybe coach some classes with me, or maybe like be my partner, like buy him out and be my partner in this gym, and we could do this thing together. I mean, right there, I could have said like, no, sounds scary, sounds risky. And I don't even remember, the dollar amount was not intimidating. Like, I was like, oh yes, like I have this, I have this money.
It's probably a couple
like,
$1,000s or something.
Couple $1,000.
Yeah.
Couple thousand.
Yeah, but here's what's funny though. What came
right
before that is you made the call to call the guy. We're curious enough and said, can I come work out? See, that's the first step.
Check it out. Yeah, that's it. Right. Again, words. I use my words. I told, said, hey, let's go hang out. Also community, people. I just went out there to meet the dude and work out. Maybe we didn't hit it off. Maybe I go out there and he's an ass bag, or he thinks that I am, and that's it. And then it's like we have whatever, and then we never see each other again. That's possible. That could have happened, but like whatever. If that happened, then what? Then where am I now? I don't know. But like I'm fine. It wouldn't have ruined my life if I didn't get along with this guy.
Are there further big aspirations that you still have that some people call them vision boards. Like, I don't even want to use goals, but, and I'm going somewhere
Sure.
with this. Like, is it like Arnold Schwarzenegger level stuff, right? Do you have the aspiration? Because I'm going to ask a question after that. Be careful on what you pin yourself down on.
Yeah.
Are they there? Do you still have them?
Yeah, there's some things I want to do. I don't know that I have these. I don't specifically have like a dollar number that I want in the bank. I don't just like specifically have things like that, but I for sure know what's next, like what I'm currently pursuing and what that means for my other ventures and things I have going on.
Is there anything you can do to speed up getting there?
Yeah, I'm in the process, right? That's exactly it. So, I mean, here's the thing. So, the book was part of it. At one point, I realized that I did a few keynotes, right? A few speaking engagements, and people asked me like, "Hey, you want to come speak at this event, whatever?" This is before I wrote the book or anything, and I said, "Yeah, sure, sounds good." And so I went and I did. I think the first speaking gig I did was in front of like 1,800 people, right? On a big stage, big event. But I was like, yeah, that's fine because also I was a teacher for 8 years. I'm good in front of people. That's really what I'm best at is coaching, educating, things, right? That type of thing. Good at communicating honest in front of people. So I went and I did it and I was like, man, that was great. I felt pretty good about this. And then a few more opportunities have come up over the years. And so, I mean, it was over a long stretch. I wasn't really pursuing it, but over the course of 5 or 6 years, I spoke at maybe 4 or 5 events. But every time I did it, I was like, man, I felt like I was pretty good at it. Got a lot of positive feedback, had a good time, all that. And so I said, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start doing more of this. I'm going to just do more keynote speaking engagements, that type of thing. And then I was like, well, then I kind of had this book I wanted to write, had an idea for this book, and says, okay, well, it all kind of goes together, right? And so that's when I wrote the book. And that's part of the process of going to really launch a speaking career and do more public speaking with it.
So here you are. That's what you're seeing.
And so here we are. And so also over the years, I did those few big appearances. I mean, I've probably guested on over 100 podcasts over the time with Caffeine Kilos. The brand kind of took off. I'm talking, we did over $1 million in our first calendar year. Not, just from absolutely nothing. We're going to host an event, and then people wanted to buy some merch, and we're like, oh yeah, we should probably sell it then. And then like, boom, just really blew up. And so that's when I quit teaching, went on that group, continued to grow that. And so, yeah, so I'm doing all these podcasts, enjoying that, doing these keynotes, enjoying that. So now I'm gonna do more speaking. And so that's led to the book. And then I think, where it's going, what could I do to accelerate that? Same thing I've always done. It's funny thing is I accidentally followed the win formula. Like didn't even notice I was doing it at the time. And I've actually looked back and seen this multiple times. I'm doing it now with the bike ride, right? Is I thought, oh man, that seems like I had a friend who said he did this ride. And I said, oh, that sounds great. I like to do that sometime. He goes, oh, you could totally do it. You just need to not even a ton of training, you just time in the saddle beforehand. Oh, yeah, I'm going to do it next year. He's like, okay, yeah, let me know. And so then I kept thinking about it. So I used my words. I told someone, right? He told me he thinks I could do it. Now I have the self-belief. Also, I've got accountability. He's going to ask me if I'm doing it or not, right? So then I went and I bought this bike on Facebook Marketplace. Well, there's the I invest. It was $150. It was like this old 20-year-old road bike, but then I basically replaced everything on it. So I've invested time into it as much as I have money, right? And then noted progress. I'm going through, I'm looking back, how far I've gone. Okay, I'm training for this ride. It's a fundraiser. I've raised the money that I'm supposed to raise for it, doing this whole thing. And I'm going on this ride. It's like I followed the entire protocol on accident. And so back to the next step, same thing. So, okay, well, I'm going to do more. I'm going to write this book. First thing I did is I started telling people, hey, I told my wife, hey, I'm going to write a book. And I started telling people, oh yeah, I'm in the process of doing it, right? I'm writing this book. And okay, yeah. And then I said, okay, well, I need to hire a coach. I need people. So I need a coach, a program, something. I need a time compress. I've got a buddy who's a good friend of mine that I would go and see in Alaska. He's published 3 or 4 books now. I could have asked him and got some insight. I did talk to him about it a little bit, but I thought, if I'm in a program and structure, I'm going to get through this. So I signed up for a course, right? I signed up for a course that teaches you and takes you through the steps of writing a book. and I followed the course, right? And same thing with speaking. I said, okay, I'm going to do, okay, now the book's done, published, out, Audible's done, just released, all that. Okay, well, now I need to, like, how do I get gigs? Like, every time I've done it before, someone's reached out to me. How do I actually pursue this? Mm-hmm. Oh, look, there's a course on public speaking, how to get booked and paid for public speaking. Okay, so I signed up for that and going through this course, and I'm almost done with it now. But it's the same thing of going out to Cal Strength for the coaching and weightlifting. Yeah. It's the same in business. I do it all the time. As we, when we were getting started, we had some questions. We just asked some other people who knew their own successful businesses, and they say, "Yeah, come on out, let's talk." Right? Reaching out to people, finding people, communities, coaches. When I first started to talk about get to where I am now from when I was teaching, when I quit teaching, it was kind of a shock. I'm like, okay, well, I better figure this shit out now because, I need to have the stable income and stuff. And so I hired a business coach, and I hired one specifically Craig Ballantyne, who's really good on the business side of things, but also on work-life balance. You need to have time for your kids, time for your family. If you spend too much time in the business and you're ignoring your family, then that's not going to be a success in the end. You're going to regret that. And honestly, your business probably isn't going to be successful, right? So I hired a business coach and I worked with him for a couple of years. And so that's something, time and time again. It's like, what's the thing you want to do? Okay, who are the people that can support you and help you in this endeavor?
What would stop you from getting? What would stop you from getting this elite level that you want to reach to now? This next aspiration. What would stop you?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that's been a challenge is managing the other stuff I have going on and finding the time for it. And so opportunity cost is a real thing. Right now, this bike ride we keep talking about, I actually love it. I'm really enjoying the pursuit. It's only a couple weeks away. And I will be so happy when it's over, even though I'm honestly these long group rides, I actually enjoy way more than I thought I would. The training sessions in the garage that I never want to do when I start, I'm always glad when they're over. I always feel good. I've been enjoying it again more than I'd like to admit. However, my time where I talk about blocking time and spending, dedicating an hour to getting your biggest task done. Well, I do that first thing. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I start working right away because my kids get up at 7, and then I stop working and help them get ready, take them to school and stuff like that. Right. And so, the getting on that bike at 5:15 in the morning for a 45-minute training session in the garage, well, that's an hour out of my day that I would be working, that I would be focusing on some of these other goals and tasks. And so that's a real opportunity cost, right? I'm doing that 3 times a week. Plus, then on Saturdays, I'm going off for 6 hours to go on these 50-mile rides with these guys. And so I'm spending 9 hours a week on this thing I'm doing. That is 100% hindering me moving forward in other aspects of my life. Because that time in the morning on the trainer, I could be prospecting new leads, reaching out to events, conferences, talking to friends, talking to different acquaintances, different connections I have that can help me get booked for these gigs, right? Yeah. And so the number one thing holding me back from getting to that next level and that next pursuit is my current obligations that I need to see through first.
So how do you choose what to intentionally focus on? Because you'd probably make an argument. You're a guy that's like, hey, if you're going to do something, you got to give it your all. And so it's funny if we said we're doing 5 different things. It's like, how do you give 5 things your all? So how do you choose what to intentionally focus on?
Yeah, well, I think that for starters, something you need to intentionally focus on is the thing that's coming up the soonest that has the most real life consequences, right? Also, what were your previous goals and aspirations? And I've done this before. I try not to. I think I'm better. But getting 75, 80% of the way down the tracks towards a goal and then quitting on it because there's another shiny object, all right, that's a terrible habit to start.
You know what Steve Jobs, have you heard what Johnny Ive, Steve Jobs' right-hand guy in designing Apple? Well, he recently, I think he was speaking at Oxford, like some of the elite people get invited to do at times. And he said the most important thing that he learned from Steve Jobs was this idea about focus. And he said, I thought I understood it. And so he said, let me share with the context that I was at an elite level designing these products for Apple, which Steve considered maybe even more important than the programming of the things and the coding. He said, Steve asked him, he said, hey, when's the last time that you didn't do something and chose to remain focused on what you're currently doing? And so Johnny Ivy laid out all these things, and Steve said, no, that's not what I'm talking about. He said, when's the last time you said no to something that you really wanted to do?
Yeah.
Because you needed, that's what you're speaking to here, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Right. And you know, on that same, I think of it all the times that Craig Ballantyne, who I mentioned, my old business coach, he would say a lot, in order to do great things, you must do fewer things.
Yeah.
And that is something that I am not good at, right? Or that let me rephrase that. That is something that I have struggled with over time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, look, man, I like to do stuff. I like to take off. I mean, on the same token, that's something that has gotten me success in lots of different ways, is what we are just talking about a minute ago, is taking advantage of opportunities. Mm-hmm. I go out there to work out. The guy says, hey, I need a business partner, a couple $1,000. You can be business partners in this gym. Mm-hmm. Of course, right? But then there's opportunity costs that come with that opportunity. Right.
But you made some good decisions, right? It wasn't just the opportunity. There was decisions that went along with them. What's the thing that's taking me to the next level?
Exactly. Right. And what do I want to do? Is this something I really want to pursue? Is this something I want to spend this time on? Right. They're realizing the opportunity costs and making the choices there. I mean, there's things like these trips to Alaska. Actually, man, my buddy lives up there. He wants me to go up in September again. He pulled a moose tag, and he's like, the guy that's going to help me pack the meat out, whatever, also got one. He can't go now, so he just needs a Sherpa. So he's like, hey, come up to Alaska in September. We'll fly to Fairbanks, take this float plane out, and then we'll just be out there for whatever, either 7 days or until I shoot a moose, whatever happens first, and then we'll pack the meat out, you know? And it sounds challenging, terrible, and awesome, right? It sounds like fucking great. This was right up my alley. Go do something that very few people will have the opportunity to do, that is going to be physically demanding, a very unique experience, and with somebody who knows what they're doing, right? This is great. But I gotta tell them no.
Because you're at a place in life where you're willing to accept a plateau. Because if you start saying nice to these fun things, you're not going to be growing the other ones.
If I was booked out for the next 6 months with whatever, we'll say 3 to 4 speaking engagements every month from now through the end of the year, 100% I would say yes. I'd be there. Yeah. I'd be there, in a heartbeat. Yeah. However, that is not my reality. I'm the reality where I currently am working through the process of how to get more speaking engagements. What are the things I need to do, right? And also not putting the time into that I need to be, or that I could be, I should say, because I'm getting ready for this bike ride, right? Mm-hmm. But that's okay, because at the very beginning of the year, I laid out goals. What are my fitness goals this year? What are my goals in general for this year? And one of the things I said is, hey, I want to do this tahoe ride. I talked about it last year. I wanted to do it last year, but I didn't. And I'm going to do that, right? This was something I really set out to do. And I mean, shit, man, I've raised over almost $2,000 for the Leukemia Society. That's great. There's a lot of good things that go along with it, right? And so, I know that is drawing from these other things, but also you could look at other ways too, right? I also spend a little bit of time on the gym. I'm spending time on my other businesses. But I'm not going to take time away from those to pursue this other goal either, right? So it's at a point right now where it's in line. It's waiting its turn.
There you go. You talk about, the part of the book too is about not burning out, right?
That's it. I tell you, man, I'm not perfect, but by and large, most days when it's dinner time, I'm home with the family, we eat dinner together as a family most days, and after that, I'm done working. I'm not in the evenings. I'm not getting my computer back out. That doesn't mean never. There's something that I really need to get done. Whatever, I'm going to do it. But it's the exception more than the rule. I set up my days. I schedule my days, schedule around my life, not my life around my days. And that's something you talk about in the book that I learned from Craig. Now we're talking about Craig Ballantyne a lot. Is a lot of people do it backwards, right? Or the other way, I should say, as they work and they try to squeeze in they think a work-life balance means I got to find time for my wife, my kids, my family, my hobbies, all this type of stuff. But then you're never fulfilled. and that there are for sure times when you have to do that, right? Like when I was still teaching, I mean, I was working, I was getting up at 4:30, working until it was time to go to school. And then I'd get, you know what I mean? And in the evenings after the kid was in bed, I had one baby at that time. After the baby was in bed, I'd work again until 10 o'clock at night. And I did that every day, but it was not sustainable. And that's why I ended up quitting teaching, right? And so there's times in here, there's seasons of life where maybe you do need to spend more time and do that type of stuff. But by and large, you're just going to burn out. You're not going to be happy. You're going to be less successful. You're going to end up less successful and less fulfilled, right? And so I set it up the other way is, and anyone could do this. I don't actually use a calendar anymore because I've been doing it for a while, but you just look at your calendar for the week and you say, okay, what time, like what are my family non-negotiables, right? So, hey, well, we're going to eat dinner at 5:30 every night. And so you put in your calendar, okay, 5:30, whatever, dinner at home. Okay, now there, boom, there's your goal. You're going to be home by 5:30 for dinner every single one of these days. And they say, okay, you know, now what time, you know, what are the other things you know you need to do to keep your life? Okay, my daughter's got these soccer games. Boom, put those in. You want to be there, put those in the calendar. Okay. All right, if you got a date night with your wife or something, put that in. Okay, are you going to work out? Now, this doesn't mean you'd fill in 5 hours a day working out, but you say, hey, you know that if you don't work out a minimum of, we'll call it 4 days a week, then you feel sluggish, you have less energy, you're gonna be less productive anyway. So put in those 4 days, times and days, boom. That stuff's in the calendar. Then you say, okay, great. What time am I going to bed? What time am I getting up? All right. Now, what's my first 90-minute block? What is my, my power hour? What is the time where I'm going to get the most important tasks of the day done? You plug that in the calendar. And then you have the rest of the day. You got the rest of the time, right? And then there's more steps to it to fill in those times. But essentially, the point is you take your calendar out and you fill in those things first, right? And you fill in those things first, and then you fill your work to work around that schedule. That doesn't mean you plug in, they're going to go play 18 holes 3 days a week, right? And still expect to be successful. But you know what? If you really enjoy golf and that's something that, is fulfilling, you feel like you can, it's a mindfulness, you can relax and get out of the business, get out of your head for a while. Yeah, plug it in. Saturday, go play 18 holes or play 9 holes on Saturday and 9 holes on Sunday. You break off an hour or two, a couple days a week. That's acceptable. You need to be reasonable with it, But putting in those hobbies, family, most importantly, right? Family, personal time stuff, and then some hobbies and exercise first, and then filling your day around those. You're going to end up probably having more success because you're not the worst thing in the world, man. And I've experienced this, and I think anyone with kids can relate, is, when your kids are awake, sometimes you're like, man, trying to it's like I'm sitting there doing something for work, trying, whatever, and I'm ignoring them. So I'm trying to finish this thing up. It's important. I got to get this shit done. And then I'll put them to bed. And then I finish what I'm doing. And then I'm sitting there. And I'm like, well, now I kind of want to talk to my kids. But I put them to bed half hour ago. And while they're awake and wanted to talk to me, I was working, right? And even if you're not working, same thing happens on your phone. Parents do this all the time. I've done it myself, right? Is you find you're sitting there on the couch just fucking around your phone or whatever, and then the kids are hanging out, whatever. You're not really spending quality time with them. And they go to bed, and you're sitting there, and you're like, well, now I don't want to spend time with them, but they're in bed, and the time when they're awake, I was doing this other thing. And that is disheartening, right? That doesn't feel very good. Doesn't help you be productive. It's not going to make you have a more fulfilling life in the end anyway, right?
Yeah.
And so, putting those things first. So for a while, I was doing this thing called a phone bed. My daughter, I got her involved, said, hey, we're going to do this together. Help me make this. We got an egg carton and some little wash rags with blankets. And we made a literal bed, right? Just out of an egg carton. I said, okay, when I come home from work, I'm going to put my phone in bed, put my phone to bed, and then not touch it again, right? Until she goes to bed. And it's only a couple hours, man. Little kids go to bed pretty early. And so, but that's what I did. I got back home, 5 o'clock, whatever. I went and put my phone in the other room. She went there with me, tucked it in, whatever. And that was it. Didn't touch it again until she was in bed, right? And it just kind of gets that habit back in place of, being present. Because otherwise you get in the situation, it's kind of the same topic, a little bit talking circles, but I think people can relate to this. I'm sitting here, and while I'm working, I feel guilty for not spending the time with my kids. But then you're spending time with your kids and you feel guilty for not working because there's a thing you got to get done. And talk about a shitty existence, right? No matter what you're doing, It's in your back of your mind. It's the wrong thing.
Yeah, but don't you
And
just have that? That's why this idea of balance is kind of BS, right? Because
yeah,
there's just never a true balance. And what people need to understand, nothing ever turns off and turns on one after another. It's all going on at the same time.
right. And so what do you choose to focus on is really it. Like that's really when people talk about work-life balance, it's more about like work, it's about being present, right?
Yep.
And spending the time thinking about the things you want to be thinking about and doing the things you want to be doing, right? And so that was actually something I thought about. I'm like, man, well, that sucked. And so then you get to like, okay, well, you know what? That's actually why my little daily list really helps because, you know, if I finish everything on that list, I'm cool. I'm not tripping. I could spend time, you know, I could focus on something with the kids. On vacations, if it's a little, you know, we go to a cabin, I'll still get up early some days and I'll just open up my computer and just spend 90 minutes, you know, maybe an hour, 30 to 90 minutes, knock some stuff out. And then I can relax the rest of the day because I know if there are any fires, they're put out, they're good. I made a little bit of progress on whatever I'm doing. If I don't do it at all, then I find myself like, oh man, what am I not, you know, you're thinking about it throughout the day. So taking the time to like be present and focus on doing some work in the morning actually might help you to relax and focus on spending time with your family later in the day.
Do you think the 25-year-old Danny, would he have been at 25? Would he have been impressed with this 40-year-old Danny and the life you're getting to live right now?
Uh, yeah, I think so. I think I would like that I'm still in shape. Feel pretty good about that. Um, yeah, yeah, I think so. I feel pretty good.
So when
I mean, look, I still married to the same person. That's a win. That's like A1 goal. You know what I mean? It's like, and
brings
you
a
know,
lot less
yeah,
brings a lot less drama into people's lives when that happens.
yeah, right. You know, and you know, yeah, exactly. So, you know, I got that going on. I feel good about that. You know, yeah, happily married. Got a couple kids. You know that are things are going well. I like where
Can
things
take the
are at.
time to sit here and have a conversation about life and the next steps and reflection and growth. So then the question is, if that's the answer for all of us, if we could think about the person we were 10 or 15 years ago,
Yep.
isn't this enough?
Well, I thought you were gonna go the other way. You say, well, then what is your ideal for the person 15 years from now?
No, I don't know if we need to ask that question yet. I don't know if we slow down to say, hey, wait a minute, like,
Yeah.
isn't this enough? Because I'm asking the question. I'm not saying I agree with it, but it's even challenging me to think through it.
Right. Oh, well, I mean, these are things that have come up in our conversation a handful of times. I'm a next step guy,
Yeah.
right? I think that's pretty clear. You know what I mean? Like I graduated high school. I went to college. I graduated on the nose in 4 years, got my teaching credential as soon as I possibly could, got my master's degree as soon as I possibly could. I said, oh, pay scale. You get paid more by years of experience and how many units? Well, how do I get more units? Like 2 years into teaching, I was maxed out on the pay scale. What's the next step? What's the next step? You know what I mean? And that's just how I've always operated.
Mm-hmm.
And I catch myself with that a lot though. It's like, oh, you know, what am I doing? Like, does there need to be a next step? Or maybe this is good. Maybe this is enough, you know?
Like, is it just about the chase? Because if that's the case, then
Yeah.
the chase never ends and we're never even going to realize the true, idyllic
Well,
moment.
well, you know what though? I would maybe push back against that is maybe the chase is the goal. Maybe that's the point. Maybe I've had this experience. I don't know if you have, I'm assuming you have, is, you know, you chase this thing and you accomplish the thing and you don't really give a shit. You know what I mean? I mean, you do, it's great. I'm more relieved I didn't lose. Okay. Masters World Cup weightlifting meet. I was pretty sure I was going to win, but like I went and when I won, it was cool. And then again, an hour later, I'm like, I don't need to do this again. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I won, but I know why. Like I won because I put in that time. I won because I was busting my ass straining against this fucking bar for how many hours, right? Like that's why I won, you know? And it's not that I'm special. It's that I did the things that need to be done to put myself in that position, right? You know, and for sure, there's a little bit of a rush or a little bit of joy with the win. But more than anything, it's like, okay, now, like, but now what? Almost unfulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look back at the journey, right? This is the gets into people always talk about, like, oh, the journey and this. And a lot of times, like, yeah, bullshit. Easy for you to say once you've accomplished it. The journey is great. But really, you look back at everything you've done. The so little of time is spent doing the actual thing, right? The actual competition. You practice, in business, whatever, right? You
only reach the
certain...
peak of the mountain. You only spend a few minutes there. That's it.
Man, fuck, dude. I mean, okay, so I hiked up to Mount Whitney, the highest peak in the continuous U.S., right? Mm-hmm. And my neighbor was like, hey, you want to hike up Mount Whitney? I'm like, sure, sounds good. Kind of funny. And then I was like in the conversation, and like 6 months later, when it's time, like a week ahead of time, he's like, you ready? I said, yeah. He said, what are you going to wear? It's supposed to be -7. I was like, oh, okay, I'm not ready. let me figure this out. But exactly what you're saying. It was 4 miles round trip. You get to the top and you're like, okay, I guess I should take a picture. And I guess I should take a picture up here. Well, it's been 30 minutes, probably time to head back down. And that's exactly it. And that's true of everything, whether it's an athletic pursuit. You win, during the game, you're still in the game, you're putting out, you're doing everything you can, and then you win. How long does the winning take? Buzzer sounds, you won. Okay, now it's old news. It's almost immediately in the past. Right?
Maybe
and so you have to celebrate. You have to celebrate these wins. You should feel good about it. But for how long does that last? So if the majority of our time is spent in the pursuit and the actual thing itself is such a small percentage of time, then why should we care about the final thing? I think that having the final thing is an excuse for the pursuit. Mm-hmm. Riding my bike around Tahoe is going to be great. It's fucking beautiful up there, right? But you know what else? The 60-mile training ride we did last Saturday was fucking beautiful also, right? And the time spent in the garage doing that when I have other things I could be doing, but I'm doing this anyway, and practicing the discipline to do this thing, like the experience of all of that is far greater than the experience of crossing that finish line of the actual thing.
So do the hard, but appreciate the moment of the hard. Maybe that's what we aren't doing well enough, right?
That's what I'm getting to. Well, not in those words. You put into words. See, this is what I tend to do is I explain things and tell stories, and I'll take 15 minutes, and then you use 3 words. My daughter, my 12-year-old, she's like, I'm sitting there. She's 11 at the time. She like sees the cover of my book. I'm like, hey, which one of these covers you like best? Oh, I kind of like that one. Okay. And she said, win your next hour. Well, what does that mean? Like, like do stuff. And I was like, oh shit. I spent 40,000 words. She used 2.
Do you think we should? Yeah, because I could sit here and talk to you all day, right? But we can't do it. We got things to do and money to make and stuff and people to impact. But do you think, is that what this whole journey that maybe you're on and I'm on and so many other people in the space, are we supposed to be simplifying this down so that it's more easily comprehended so we can just make a decision if we're going to do it or not? Like, you don't have to agree with that, but that's what it seems like it's becoming more and more. It's like, hey, Mark, just simplify the thing so we can decide if we're going to do it.
Every year I pick a word of the year, and this year my word is simplify. Yeah, it 100%. It's a yes. And, this is a common thing I hear people saying a lot right now. It's like, it's either a hell yes or it's a no. Right. And when it comes down to like, hey, do you want to pursue this? Do you want to do this thing? But also back to what we were talking about to tie that in is you have to enjoy the pursuit because that's where all the time is spent, which is, or at least enjoy something about the pursuit. And I think that's what it comes down to when you say, is it it's a hell yes or it's a no. You can't, I don't think focusing on the end result, letting the end result be your answer is the right way to go about it. I think the way to think about things is, hey, do you want to do this thing? Yeah, there's opportunity. Hey, you got the opportunity, Mark. Do you want to do it? Instead of being like, oh, that would be cool to do the thing, to look and say, do I want to spend the time it will take to do the thing? Because that's the real question. That's where you're going to be spending most of your life. A very small part of your life is going to be the actual thing. Most of your life is doing what it takes to get the thing done. And I mean, I'm talking through this now. I'm going to start doing that in my own life. When opportunities come up, it's not going to be so much, do I want to do that thing, but do I want to do what it's going to take to accomplish that thing?
Yeah.
If that's not a hell yes, then it's a no, right?
Yeah, I think maybe with these, I got a couple more years on you, and a lot of people do a lot of hard things, but I'm sitting here as I was listening to you. I'm only interested in becoming a more capable human at every moment.
Yeah.
Because that capable human, the more capable I become, it makes all the moments more satisfying and more easy.
Yeah.
Or easier. And that's all I want to do is every moment that I arrive at and everything else I sign up for or anybody's life that I come into contact with, I just want to be more capable to really crush and be elite in that moment. And everything that I'm doing leading up to it is me becoming that individual. Because once you become, we could consider elite, we could write down characteristic or attributes that make us that. But once you become an elite thinker or an elite problem solver, or you develop an elite mind to learn and to become curious, you carry that on to everything that you do. And all my pursuits are to turn me into a more capable human so I can just crush.
You know what it is? It's showing up. It's showing up for people, right? Yeah. Something's going on. Something's going on. How are you going to handle this? Right? The chips are down. How are you going to handle this? Someone's got a problem. Are they going to talk to you about it, Mark? Or are they going to talk to somebody else? Or are they not going to talk to anybody because they're intimidated, because they don't want to talk. They think that you wouldn't give them, you don't know what, you wouldn't be able to help them, or you wouldn't give them the time of day. Yeah. Right? As far as that goes too,
yeah,
you look at that from a leadership standpoint. You look at that from a knowledge, experience, and also from a physical standpoint. I tell people at the gym all the time, man, the goal here is for you to be able to do what you want to do in life, not what you can do. Meaning you're at the lake and someone says, hey, let's go for a little hike around this lake. The thought of, can I do that, should not come into your mind. That should be nowhere even in your thought process. It's 100%, do I want to or do I not want to? And that should be your entire.
Yeah, this whole conversation. Turn yourself into a person that can do everything you want to do.
Yes, who never has to ask if you can do it, but only if you want to do it. And so that's in the physical aspect. That should be in the leadership aspect, in the business and marketing, sales. It should never. Someone says, hey, you want to do this thing? That's the real question is what they're asking. Do you want to? Not can I?
So good, man. I'm sitting here looking at the book that you sent, and Win Your Next Hour, but it's what we just full circle. It took us a long time to get there together. I'm sure your daughter's going to be like, what'd you guys pretty much say? It's like, well, how to get unstuck and turn your dreams into reality, right?
That's it. That's it.
That's
do stuff. Do stuff. That's it.
Do stuff. Yeah, that's the next book. Do stuff. Yeah. It's like that was the gym rat talking to us, huh?
I told her, I said, shit, man, you even beat Nike. They use 3 words, just do it. You got them beat even. You know what I mean? I took 40,000. They took 3. You got in 2.
What do you think the parting shot is here? I mean, they can go get the book on Amazon. They can listen to the Audible. They can follow you on all your socials and stuff. But how do you want to engage with people? I mean, you want to get on stage and speak more, but anybody that listens to this, hears it, and they read your book, and you send them a priceless watch. How do you want people to engage with you now? Like what's going to push you forward on your next stages of growth here? How do you want? I want people to tell me what they want to do. I think that, we were talking about words a lot and how the first step of doing something is telling people. And I think people are scared to tell people because, again, one, if I tell someone, it makes it real. And then I actually have to do something, I have to follow through on it. 2, they might laugh at me, whatever. Sometimes telling somebody who you don't personally know still has the same benefit because you told somebody, right? But it's maybe not as intimidating. And so if there's something you want to do, if you've been thinking about starting a business, you've been thinking about, there's this girl in town, man, talk about coffee trailer. That was a real story. She was my favorite barista, and she bought a trailer, turned it into a mobile coffee shop, right? And she told me she wanted to do it. She just bought a trailer, didn't know what to do. And so then we hopped on a call and I helped her out some stuff, right?
And so that's what I want. I want people, if you're listening to this, what is it that you want to do in life? Do you want to start a business? Do you not? Maybe you just want to do a side hustle. Maybe not. Maybe the job you have, you just want to do better at. Maybe you want a new career. Maybe you want to quit your job, go back to school, right? Maybe you want to lose 40 pounds. Maybe you want to hike the Appalachian Trail, right? Whatever it is that you want to do, that it's been rolling around the back of your mind. You haven't been taking action towards it because you're scared, you're intimidated, you don't want to start. Tell me. Just shoot me a DM. Instagram, Danny_Lehr with an H, Lehr. Send me a message. Tell me what's up. Tell me what you want to do. I'll be your little support system. I'll encourage you.
All right, y'all. Danny Lehr is telling us to win your next hour. Hey, thanks, man. Thanks for giving us this hour and a half.
Yeah.
And talking about all the things and letting us know what we're not doing at the level you are. I'm going to walk away from here and wondering why I'm not riding 73 miles on a bike.
Well, only 1 mile at a time. That's the key.
Now he just wrote another book. Not it's win your next hour. It's 1 mile at a time. Hey, thanks, man. Appreciate you coming on, and look forward to tracking the journey and watching more moments when you get on stage and tracking that evolution on your next stage of life here too.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark.